So I was going through some paperwork I had when I was upstate, and I found this list that I had made. I made a lot of lists. I mean, there's nothing else to do, so you make lists. Um, Looking back, I did some math too, which without a calculator was, again, something to do. So did 32 months, 139 weeks, 974 days. I figured I did about between 100 and 150,000 push-ups. I read a little over 250 books, fiction, nonfiction, whatever I can get my hands on in the library. And I was fortunate, family, friends would send me books. Tried to mix it up, read one fiction, one nonfiction, back and forth, just to keep my brain going. Um, Elmore Leonard, great writer. Michael Connelly, the Harry Bosch series, guys like that. That was the fiction I was looking for. On the other side, I read a lot of stuff about your brain, stuff about religion, stuff about philosophy, stuff about business, economics, history, things like that. Maybe I'll do a whole thing about some of the books. I'll bring the list in. At some point, I saw in the library they had a Wall Street Journal, and there was a thing in there about 6 months for $1. So immediately I called home, said, listen, you can get newspapers here, get me the Wall Street Journal. So I did, and read it cover to cover. Every day came in. Guys in the bunk, or everybody wanted a copy after I was done with them. Weekend edition was great because it had all sorts of additional stuff. But then I started doing crossword puzzles. And believe it or not, I counted and I did 450 Wall Street Journal crossword puzzles. I did 75 New York Times Sunday crossword puzzles from a book that somebody had sent me. It's amazing. When you start doing crossword puzzles in the beginning, impossible. And guys would come around the bunk all the time, like, oh, you do crossword? Give me one. Some people got them, some people didn't. It got to a point where if I was stuck and I knew a guy was going to the library, hey, what are you looking up? What do you need to know? So it became a nice source of entertainment during the week at night because there's nothing to do. What other statistics? It was 3 1/3% of my life at that time, 10% of my marriage. I learned to speak a little bit of Spanish. A guy tried to help me. Another Spanish guy, we had a routine where I would say, io problemo. And he would say, oh, it's no problem. I said, no, io problemo. No, it's no problem. Io problemo. No dinero. Oh, it's a problem. We would do that 3-4 times a week. It was funny at the time. I wrote a lot. I wrote some stories. I wrote, not really diary, just I wrote letters to my kids, which I might publish anyway. There's like 7 or 8 letters that just kind of incorporated a lot of the stuff that I was reading. And one of the things I read the Bible. My aunt sent me a King James Bible. Read it from, Genesis chapter 1 right through the end. Took me about a year, but in the back of the Bible, it had a reading plan. We only had to read like 3 or 4 pages a day. And I did it for a year straight, read the whole thing. Made me interested in other religions, to be honest with you. Just comparisons. But like I said, I did a lot of writing. I figured, I don't know how I came up with this number, 250,000 words. I slept about 10,000 hours. I'm going to do a whole thing on sleeping. I made about $700 working 30 hours a week for most of those 139 weeks. I think the highest, my rate, I got up to 14 cents an hour. A lot of guys complain about that. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that to pay me 14 cents an hour. I don't know. They gave you free, they fed you 3 times a day. They gave you a place to sleep. Not like you can go somewhere else. So I figured I ate about 3,000 meals. When I was in Rikers, somebody gave me this mini Bible, and some guy told me you should read the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So I did, and I memorized it. And I said it twice a day, generally. And I figured, and sometimes, well, I'll do a whole thing about that too. Sometimes when I was in certain situations, I just said it to myself to calm myself down. But I figured I said it about 2,000 times. TV. There was 2 TVs in the dorm. One was a sports TV. One was just whatever. Movies, TV shows. Mostly love and hip hop. Steve Harvey, stuff like that. Tyler Perry movies. I watched probably 1,000 hours of sports and regular TV. I played bocce, softball, dominoes, cards, chess, Scrabble. Not every day, but a lot, just to kind of keep yourself busy. Get out of there. Get out of there. One second. Get out of here. Get out of here. Cat's trying to get in my bag. Stop. Talked on the telephone. I figured about 500 hours worth. Come on, get this guy out of here, will you? Come on. Get him out of here. Go. Chase him or something. Where were we? Oh. Talked on the telephone about 500 hours. Kids, wife, parents. I had a cousin I talked to once in a while. Once in a while, some friends. My wife was somewhere and I happened to call her. She put somebody on the phone. Visits. I had about 20 visits over that time. And mostly wife, kids, parents, a couple friends, a couple cousins. And it was nice. It breaks it up. I'll do a whole thing about visiting. The sad part is, I don't know how I came up with this, but I missed like 10 birthdays. I mean, I had 3 of my own inside, but you miss Christmas, you miss Thanksgiving, you miss birthdays, you miss anniversaries. Those are tough, but it is what it is. Anyway, those are my statistics, and talk to you later.